think they heard that.
Greetings.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Shema. We are back. It's so lovely to see all of you. Well, I guess you're seeing us. So lovely for you to see us. We would like to open up this space. Give thanks to the Most High Yah for bringing us finally to the end of this strong. Because what a strong it was. I don't know about how was your strong,
What a strong it was, indeed.
Yeah, my square. I got nudged on my square a little bit. But give thanks. We are here and we are about to rest. So I am thankful and grateful, forever grateful for that. Also give thanks to Chief Yuya for opening up this space for us as well and allowing us to deliberate our understandings of the Anu way. And so I'm Achosidra. This is Ima Precious, and I'm going to rock the one earring today. We are still on family, and we are talking about marriage, a pact for marriage. So before we get into it, Ima Precious, can you hit us with the preface? Precious with the preface.
Yes, and before I do, give thanks, Sister Kashia. We do know that the audio is slightly askew, and so thank you for that. Yeah. Willfully, it'll balance out.
Yeah.
So the preface, the condensed excerpt from the Anu Foundations. This book is not to be read only once. Read the words of this book of knowledge and wisdom out loud. Discuss the convictions of this work with your Anu brothers and sisters. Share this information with your people. This publication should be read daily. Every line in this book can be taken out of context and studied on the strength of its own potential, and the truth is to be deliberated.
Give thanks. So today's discussion, as I said, is on pact for marriage, under family, under marriage. And what does that mean, pact for marriage? So we'll get into it. But first, Precious is going to read the passage.
Yes. As we have said previously, sexual intercourse is a pact for marriage. This is why it is so very key for a woman to keep her virginity intact. If she weds at a young age and divorces morally or is widowed, then she is not dishonored. If a female creates many marital contracts with many people, one or more, recklessly, she has dishonored herself and should seek deliverance.
Okay, so let's break down that first sentence. As we have said previously, sexual intercourse is a pact for marriage. So when we read this sentence, the first thing that sticks out is pact. That's what this whole passage is about. It's a pact. So as we were deliberating and thinking about okay, well, what does pact mean? Let's think about it. So Ima Precious, you had the first part of pact. What did that bring you to?
Sure. So I thought about, what a pact, well, we pondered that. And of course, we know that a pact is a contract, a commitment, and as we dug a little deeper, a covenant. And so oftentimes when you think of a pact, you may even think of like a treaty, right? If you think of like social studies or history, oftentimes it's nations coming together and coming up with the pact. And so it just speaks to the level of commitment that two choose to enter into when they form a pact.
Mm-hmm. So when after coming to the word covenant, we looked up the Hebrew word. And so the Hebrew word for covenant is berit. I've seen it spelled like a few different ways when it's transliterated. Mm-hmm. But the Hebrew spelling is bet, which is the B sound, rech, which is the R, Yod, and Tav. So Resh, Bet, Resh, Yod, Tav. Interestingly enough, it's this similar or the same word, same letters or team that's used to spell Bereshit. And Bereshit is in the beginning. And we learned through Chief Yuya's Genesis breakdown that Bereshit is in the beginning, in the mind of the Creator, the Supreme saw Israel's law, right? And so what is, and that's also can be like a pact, right? A covenant. You keep the law. That is Israel's pact to Yah. So very interestingly enough, covenant is very close to the word Bereshit, and it's Barit. Mm-hmm. So when we think about Barit, Bet is the representation represented by the house or the tent, also family. Resh is the head, or also like that stooping. It could be the mind. Yod is the hand of God or Israel. And Tav is the truth. Tav is also symbolized by a seal or a mark or a covenant. So right within the word Barit, it is clear that it is a covenant. So when we think about a pact for marriage and marriage, I think we've had the discussion before in previous Shemas. Yeah, and I'm sorry about the static. In previous Shemas, the marriage is a covenant. So it's like you're making, when we think about sexual intercourse, in the context of this passage, sex is a pact for marriage. And we've seen in other places, sex equals marriage. Right. So when you are doing the do, you are making a covenant to enter into a covenant. So interestingly enough, elsewhere in our new, and this is jumping ahead a little bit, but we'll go into it as because it still is on the topic of family. The idea of a covenant in marriage is really important, especially in our new, because we seek to recreate the body of Yah. So there needs to be a family unit between men and women. So when we go back to the Barit or Barith, we see that house, the tent, that is symbolic of the family. The head is the Resh, the Yod is the hand of God, and the Tav is the truth. So when, and I try my best to string them together. So I'm going to try this, and I'll put this also in the chat. If you have been trying to keep up with your Hebrew, for those of you, put, your best kind of stringing together of the meanings of the meanings behind each letter in the chat. So what I got was the family in the mind of Yah. No, because that would be a verse. If the family is, oh my gosh, it just literally went out of my head. I should have wrote it down. So we'll try to do it on air. So the family with my one earring. So the family in the mind of Yah, or the family in the mind of Israel, is the truth. So that's kind of what I got. So that's like really, really simple, but I'm sure it can be like broken down a little bit better and a little bit more. So that's why I'll say, like, we invite all of you in the chat to put your best in. So I'll say the otim again that make up the word covenant in Hebrew, which is Barit, Bet, Resh, Yod, and Tav. So again, it's very close to Barit, and it brings us back to that idea of having a covenant with God, with Yah specifically, because we also know that from the Bereshit lessons that I think it's in chapter 2, we get a clear idea of which Elohim is responsible for creation. Right. So this covenant is with Yah.
Right. And while you're speaking of a covenant, and then we also have the pact, there's also the idea of a pledge, right? Making a pledge or a commitment. And I know you acknowledge like, oh, I'm moving ahead, but really it's just moving in unison, because as we go into the next line, it says, this is why it is so very key for a woman to keep her virginity intact. One, I want to, go to the preface where it says, every line in this book can be taken out of context and studied on the strength of its own potential. I'm pointing that out because I want the audience to recognize that when we're referring to righteous behavior and conduct, a woman is being referenced. Mm-hmm. And further down, when I read that if a female creates many marital contracts, we are not talking about a woman. So I just wanted to make that distinction for anyone who doesn't, notice that or make that acknowledgement. Going back to that line, it says, this is why it is very key for a woman to keep her virginity intact. And of course, we're referencing to intact leading pact. And so the reality is what this is describing is a situation where the woman is being raised up and poured into first by her father, who is ensuring that she remains appropriately covered and her boundaries are maintained in the appropriate fashion so that she can enter in a righteous way, right? Without compromising her honor. Mm-hmm. That's really what we're talking about. And I'm sure, and if many of us, men and women think about losing their virginity, in many instances, I would imagine even the means by which it all happened, while all dishonorable, right? I'm sure it was not a story you'd want to share. And even if you think even further back, you probably did not have that patriarchal head making sure, that you were living the way that you should have in order to preserve that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I also thought, like you said, like a young woman, a virgin, she would be under her father's covering. So she's in a sense, like born into that pact,
right.
the pact that unit, that familial unit of that homestead has made with Yah. So before she goes into, a rite of passage to move into her own homestead with her mate, it has to be done properly, So that's where it becomes key, and kind of like moving into the next sentence where we talk about like dishonor, right? So did you have anything else to add before you move
on? No.
Mm-mm. Okay. So if she weds at a young age and divorces morally, or is widowed, then she is not dishonored. So there's a few pieces to that sentence. If she weds at a young age. So when we talk about marital contracts, when we're thinking about family building, like we should want to do that as women in our most fertile and our prime years. So this is what we mean by young age. We're not talking about child brides. We're talking about when we are most fertile, right? Just to be clear, okay? Don't come for us unless we send for you, okay?
Right.
And then divorces morally. And so there's a key piece about divorcing morally. And all these kind of like weave in together. So we think about the first, the sentence that comes before it, where it's key for women to keep their virginity intact, and thinking about even before sex is marriage. It's a pact for marriage. So if you are married righteously and actually married, and that divorce comes righteously within the law, then that is a moral divorce. So here's a question for everybody. But before I do that, I'm going to go to the chat and give thanks for everyone, because we usually greet everyone. It's been a while. We've been on vacation, y'all. We're on vacation and we came back a little. So greetings to everyone in the chat. Greetings, Shannon Joy, top tier speaker, Sister Naya. Greetings, Sister Kashia. Sister Aquia, greetings to Sister Munira, Shabbat Shalom, Brother Antonio, first in the room, Brother Ipaco Bahamas, which is Brother Cruz, Incognito, and greetings to you, Chief. Thank you so much for joining us. Greetings, Cassie Derwin,
Hello.
Brother Lowe,
Hello.
Brother Lowe, I think I everybody, and Sovereign Eats, last but not least. Give thanks, everyone. Peace, peace, peace. So Chief says, and compromise the honor of the house. Absolutely. A woman with her head still around her shows the father has been right ruling and maintained the right border around his family. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So when when I thought about this, and I know you touched on the idea of a righteous union, and we're definitely making that distinction. But from a biblical perspective, even unrighteous unions do not have just carte blanche to say, well, I don't want to do this anymore. And so therefore I can get a legal divorce, and therefore I have a righteous divorce, or I'm no longer contractually obligated under Yah to this person. That's not how it goes, right? So, and I know we're going to dig deeper, but I wanted to just say is whether it was righteous or not, that stands.
Mm-hmm. So before because we got a question for that, but I want to kind of rewind a little bit. So before I ask everybody to see, try their best at the formula for the Hebrew word for covenant. And Sister Shem, the joy has, in the house is the seed of truth. Pretty good. In whose house? Where's the yod? The yod. Or is was yod also like seed? I think so. Yod is also seed. The seed is the thought. So that's the resh. So where's the yod? Where's the yod? But that's good. That's really good. So back to talking about the pact and like the righteous and the idea of divorce. So we've talked about this before. What are grounds for divorce? So let's see if folks remember. What are the grounds for divorce? So we'll put that up, and we'll wait for some folks. Yo did also see that. I forgot head though. Okay, let's see that. All right. So where's the head?
Right. You knew something was missing in that breakdown.
I'm like,
and I want to add one thing. So what are the legal, right? What about based on the law that we I knew abide in? What are those grounds? So don't give us your, statutory laws.
If you do this or if he do that, no.
Irreconcilable differences is what I think I'm gonna go with. That's not what we're talking about, right? So you got to come with it. And if you want an extra, couple of bonus points, if you can give a scriptural reference, that would be even more amazing. Boom, I did it. And don't go Googling. Well, maybe Google.
So I don't know if you might have to switch the live and go find.
They got other devices. So, come on, you got more than one device.
Use your phone. I don't know. So moving right along while we wait for some of those responses, and you can feel free to also continue to put your interpretation. As you think about the symbols for Bet, Resh, Yod, and Tav. Bet is house, tent, or family. Resh is the head or the mind. Yod is the hand of God or Israel, or also can be the seed. And Tav is truth or seal or mark or covenant. So thinking about those Hebrew letters, the otim, which is letters, what does that read out? The word berit, which is Hebrew for covenant. Mm-hmm. So we'll wait for that, and we'll wait for grounds for divorce. Grounds for divorce. So while we wait for that, we're going to move on a little bit further and, move through the sentence. So then it says, or is widowed, then she is not dishonored, right? So when we think about all we've read before, and Ima Precious, you said it earlier, pact, covenant, we could also think of a contract, right? So what happens when you are in breach of contract? it's dishonorable, right? So when we think of like things like even in business, like nobody wants to be in breach of contract. So for the person who's on the receiving end, something wasn't done properly and you don't get your service. And for the person who is supposed to be contracted and provide that deliverable, it's bad for your reputation, dishonorable. You know, people have been blacklisted for doing things like that,
Or
right? So
whitelisted,
we
right? Any kind of.
what's that?
I'm just creating some balance. It's not a thing.
Fine, they could be put on the list, whatever color it is.
Right.
They could be put on.
They can be canceled, right? They don't even blacklist anymore.
Right.
It's a cancel culture now. So we're gonna youthen ourselves as if that's a word.
Right. If we canceled, redacted, we put lines.
Yes.
You don't exist no more. How about that?
No.
So it's dishonorable. So those are some of the things we thought about. So the answers are coming in the chat. So okay, so for the Brit interpretation, Sister Munira says family is the first sign of Yah's work. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Shanda Joy says the head of the house is the seed of truth, or the house heads Israel's truth. I like that. I like these. I like them. We could do this more often. I like these. Sister Kashia says grounds for divorce, the violation of what was agreed upon in the marriage contract. Okay, that's real general. That's
you
broad.
got a scripture. You got a scripture to back that up.
Specific.
We talking about law, right? Is that under?
Yeah. Where's your precept? Where's your precept?
Where's that? Precept. Where's that?
There you go.
Don't make me start dancing.
What you are joined under defines the purpose of your union and the requirements for dissolution. Even the definitions of your culture of sex should come from your maker. Y'all can read the last part. F blank CK means to strike.
Right.
I feel like we did. This has come up before that it means.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know, and it brings you to just like the idea, like understanding. I know it was more definitely an internal dialogue when Sister Kashia broke down the, etymology of the word wife. But I think, and feel free to look it up, it's pretty easily and readily accessible what that word means. But when you read Chief's, connection between the word F blank CK, meaning to strike, it's just yet again one of those examples of understanding how words that you're using, right? Number one, they have a vibration like everything else. It has a resonance, and it's like, what are you creating if that's what you think you're doing? What sort of energy are you creating? Is it something that's going to unify and represent that pact or that covenant, where Yah is the, all of these examples where Yah is the head within the house, and keeping things righteous and true? Or is it something else, very different? And just knowing that that's what you're contracting for. That's what you're contracting for. I will say that there is a clue for one of the, it's not, and I'll say it because it isn't one of the reasons that you would, well, it is actually, a marital contract is dissolved. And of course it's right there when you're widowed. So that's one. And that's one that's right there in the text that we're discussing. So, but there are a few more.
Yeah. She says politically correct listed. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Right. Whatever. Right. Whatever the list is, you gone. Greetings, Arlene. Safta Arlene. She says, she's just reading. Grounds for divorce, abandonment. Genesis 2:18.
All right. Come with it, Safta. She like, I know my Bible verses. Give
Brother Give thanks. Brother Antonio says the hand of, okay, so this is for the Belites. The hand of God binds the head of the house to the Ooh, I like that. Let me read it out loud because I got excited before I finished. The hand of God binds the head of the house to the truth.
I like this one because I was looking for it to connect to the context, right? So even though we walked Pact into covenant, I felt like it should connect in some way with what we're deliberating on, right? The idea. I'm sorry. Do you hear that? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, those are called babies with babies talking downstairs. They're having fun. That's what that is. I'm like, do you hear that?
You know they're your house.
They my kids. They my kids. You know, they loud like mama. So the idea of just how of course Aki Antonio's breakdown really tied it back to, you know, the act itself, you know, what sexual intercourse represents and how it goes back to that pact or that covenant with Yah. So yes, I like that one. Thank you. Oh, and Sham just said, okay, she just pointed up. So ditto on that, right?
No, wait.
That was cute. It's like, yeah, what he said. I'm with him. Like, I'm with him.
I'm like, what does that mean? Okay, I get it. What he said. What he said. I like it. Because I was.
All right, we have another one from Sovereign Eats. So, based on biblical reference, Matthew 5:32, sexual immorality is grounds for divorce. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? I almost don't want to say yay or nay, but I know there's like a 20-second delay, so it might take too long for y'all to say yay. So yes, ding, ding, ding. That's now. So now we have, of course, if you're widowed, sexual immorality, and abandonment. So there might be a couple more. I'm learning from Aki Antonio to, like, you know, because I was gonna say like how many more there were, but I'm learning to kind of make it more challenging. So let's see. There might be a couple more. We'll wait. So do you want to go to the next sentence? Should I start reading?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
cool. If a female creates many marital contracts with many people, one or more, recklessly, she has dishonored herself and should seek deliverance. So we're gonna start from the beginning. If a female, so that's already a clue that we're not talking about a woman. So we're not talking about someone who's tethered to culture or righteous conduct. We are talking about someone who has not been verified by her community, right? And we have discussed that in previous Shema Anu episodes. So a female creates many marital contracts. How many is many? How many mics do I drop on a daily? Okay, so
Does it? If you look it up.
No, I know, but I'm yeah. How many marital contracts? No, one or more, right? One or more. Has that ever been your definition of many, like ever in life? So clearly, many of us have recklessly dishonored ourselves. That's the bottom line. If you did anything other than marry a righteous man as a virgin, you have dishonored yourself. You have conducted in a fashion that would be considered reckless. That is reckless, right? That's what this is saying here. I don't even think that there is much for me to like dig into because it's pretty clear. And so the idea of deliverance or redeeming is where the focus needs to lie. You know, how do you do that?
Mm-hmm. Oh gosh. Okay, I lost.
You want to get to the chat?
Like it went.
Yeah.
South Darlene says, in Anu, isn't sex considered marriage? Yes.
Yep.
It is. That's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And this sentence in particular is talking about having like a whole bunch of contracts out in the streets. That's basically what that is.
Yes, Chief, I was. I'm excited.
Sister Manira says, it's what it says in the Bible. Yay.
What?
Is that that is the answer for divorce. You're going to get redacted.
Boo!
You're going to get redacted.
Not yay. That's a big boo. Boo, boo. Okay, that's what that is.
So the question is, so is that just on the female? Are you talking about
the dishonor? I think she's referring to the dishonor piece. And I'm sure there'll be some responses in the chat, but I'm going to go ahead and take a stab at it and say, yes.
Yeah.
Because as we know, and I'm just going to use the analogy of soil. We as women are the earth, and you really want to make sure that you're covered, right? So you're covered first by your father, and that's to protect you so that you're not being imprinted or errant thoughts, ideas, desires, conduct aren't planted in you, because those things that are imprinted can't just be, it's not like whiteout or erasable markers, right? Well, I don't know if those exist, erasable pens or whatever, pencils. It's, yeah, you fix that. So just go to the side. Just go to the side. So that's my stab at the answer, that the answer is yes. It does apply. Asking yay or nay to Sister Moksha's response of, oh, she was saying yes. Oh, okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's correct. It was correct. It's so late. I'm sorry. It gets 20 seconds is a long time when you're chit-chatting, right? But back to say it again.
Erase it. It's unredacted. You back on the page.
Right. That's a yay. All right. I didn't even want to give you the boo-boo, but I had a truth is being loving, right? Kind or something.
You said something. I'm gonna go to the chat in a second because there's a lot about the yes. I also want to add, it doesn't mean that because we've had previous conversations, and this may have been, so for those of you who are not on and who are watching this video, we have had previous discussions about adultery, and adulterating meaning to change. So it does not mean that the man can go around adulterating like women, right? So it doesn't mean like all willy-nilly being irresponsible, because that's dishonorable. So, but in context of this sentence, yes, we are talking about the woman. That's specifically what we're talking about. But it is not to create a free for all, to behave unrighteously. Is that
So I'll read some of this. Okay, so it looks like Sister Kashia said, because your Aaron is just being disrespectful, right? Like, it's like, look, I'm on air. I'm just gonna be live with it. Like, anyway, so Sister, so Sister Kashia said yes, Safta. So again, another, affirmative. Well, actually, that was after. So Chief Yuya says Berit, compress multiple seeds or join a cluster of family heads, signified by the sacrificing of choice meat parts. Alliance can be dissolved if one party dishonors original divine ordinance. I feel like I should read that again. Compress multiple seeds or join a cluster of family heads, signified by the sacrificing of choice meat parts. Alliance can be dissolved if one party dishonors another divine ordinance. So then that may connect with what Sister Kashia, I believe it was Sister Kashia, said regarding the breaking of the marital contract, breaching that being grounds for divorce. So is that, I guess this is a question, would that connect? I'm just curious. And then someone's excited about the Fuji reunion tour. How many mics can we drop? Many. Anyway,
are you going?
how many mics can I drop in the daily? Yeah, I know you don't know about that. You do movie quotes. I do rap lyrics.
Yeah.
Look. Okay.
We got it covered between us.
We got you covered. Okay, so Manera clarified. I'm gonna just say Alba Cruz, Ipaco, Bahamas. If a husband is unable to provide for his wife, is the only grounds for divorce in Hebrew culture. Can you give a scriptural reference for that? Yeah, okay, thanks. And then she says, divorce is primarily for the woman. It removes men from accountability of her oaths. What? Shakak. Putting away. Oh, okay. Oh, shakak happens. Okay. Putting away happens. So the karat, cutting, will allow her to remarry without committing adultery. So in that instance, I would imagine that many women who remarry without the number one, without even divorcing for appropriate biblical reasons, are committing adultery.
Yeah.
And that goes to why within the Anu way, I believe the brothers touched on it, why there is also, the idea of getting a, is it a writ? Am I using the right term?
Like the separation, the writ of separation or contract of separation. As we'll get into in a little bit.
Yes.
Not there yet. We're not there yet.
Oh, we're not. That's right. We get married and then we don't divorce, but it comes after if it has to happen. Okay. So Ipaco Bahamas says, I was researching. That is the only grounds that I found for Orthodox Torah reference. Also, the grounds of the contracts that are drawn up will state what is allowed for divorce. Okay, give thanks.
Yeah.
Don't be on time. What is
what? Oh, is that? I don't even know.
Is that a grounds for divorce? I don't know what she's talking about. LOL. No. Okay.
I mean, we're timekeepers, so that's part of what we're naturally, women are the timekeepers. So maybe there's something there.
Well, I guess if we don't get it towards the end, I'll give what the final few are if no one else gets it. Alba Cruz, I will say that isn't one of the biblical references that I had on my list, but it doesn't mean that isn't that those aren't grounds for divorce.
Yeah, because he speaks of like what's in the contract, and that speaks to what Chief said before about alliances being dissolved.
Right.
Not just the written contract, but again, the pact itself is a contract with Yah.
It's a covenant, right? Right. It's a covenant. And it's just, think about it, like the idea, right? And Safta Arlene, put it in the chat, and I know you opened with it, but the idea or the fact that sex is marriage, when you first say that, it's kind of like, it is. No, it ain't been like, it ain't been that. But when we get into these lines, and as we deliberate, it's like, wow, when you break down the words, when you go back and you think of, the root and the history and the etymology of the word, you begin to appreciate how and why, how sacred the act is, and why it would be, make you married. Like, we's married now. I mean, come on now. I got a couple. I got that, and me and you will never part, Maki Dada. That's about it.
You did it. Okay, so we'll go back to the chat because we have some questions, especially that follow the sentence, but I want us to get through the comments because, you know, the comments be getting away from us. Okay, so Chief U.S. says, Ezra 10:3, now therefore let us make a covenant with our God to put away all the wives, and such as are born of them, according to the counsel of the Lord, and of those that tremble at the...
I think it cut off. To be continued. Go look it up.
Right. Go look it up. But, you know, even though we didn't get a chance to finish it, maybe it doesn't matter. The point is about the covenant and putting away the wives that such as are born of them. That part I'm a little confused about. And such as are born of them. The children.
Put away the wives and the children that are born of them.
Keeping a hedge up around the family.
Protecting the women and children, right? Because even when you think about it, even, you know, in the biblical context, and even, I know, I don't watch many movies, but even in movies, when the men go off to war, there are some that remain back, right? And they form that hedge of protection around all of the women and children in the village, right? So that's, yeah.
Yeah, when the Titanic was sinking, women and children first, right?
We talking about
so.
Righteous hedges.
I don't know if it was righteous.
That's what I said. We're talking about.
I don't know if it was righteous. But it comes from somewhere. The idea of women and children being protected.
Yeah.
And it's utilized in a lot of different spaces. Antonio Smith, Brother Antonio says it's also referred to as a get in Jewish culture. Are you speaking of the contract, the berit? Just say in the comments. If so, give thanks for the additional information.
For the refugees. The Fugees, don't be late. Yeah.
To the concert. Is it real?
We'll talk later. We'll talk later. Okay. So then she said Lauren ain't even gonna show up. She probably ain't even heard about it. And you know nobody wants to hear prize. I know. I think, let's get that one. You haven't been Ronnie, Ricky, and Mike.
I'll go see them.
Yeah. Yeah, leave Johnny behind at home too. Don't let him come.
Why?
Nah, we don't want. We want the originals, baby. All right. Anyway,
but that was in the rain. I mean, come on.
I got an umbrella. I'm cool.
No.
Okay, let's get back to the chat, please.
What you shaking your head at, Brother Lowe? What we do?
Yeah, right. Probably at what she said about Lauren Hill.
I was like, what's the cliffhanger? Look it up. Chief U.S. says, if you want the rest, that tremble. Oh, okay. And of those that tremble at the commandment of our God, and let it be done according to the law. So let it be written, so let it be done.
Oh, it is not to protect the women and children. This is when the men of Israel got with women of other nations, and had to put them away, like put them away, in Elohim, and went astray. So they were directed to divorce the women and the children. Oh, that's a different kind of put away. That's like,
yeah, I thought it was meant to like protect. Oh, like me, like get out of here, put away,
shun.
Oh,
shun because it done. Okay. It just came to me. It's my reggae freestyle.
Okay. Sure.
I'll go with it. Okay. All right.
Oh, the get is the writ of divorce. It's the document itself. Okay. Give thanks. LOL. That's why I said don't be on time. Get there when you get there. Wow. Learning something new this evening. Good. Thanks. I'm glad you are. I did too, because I did not know that. Yeah. Okay, so before we bring on the new question, can you sound off what was on your list.
Sure.
Email prayer.
Yeah, no one said the last one. So yeah, so we already said, of course, well, the Anue already said, if you are widowed, right? So we said sexual, we didn't. Yeah, sexual immorality is one, right? So let me go to my notes, because now I'm mixing up what was said with what wasn't said. Okay, adultery, sexual immorality. Of course, if you're widowed, and hardening of the heart. So if your heart is hardened, and that's the tricky one. And let me give the scriptural reference. It's Mark 10:5-9. And this is where Moses allowed a man to write a certificate of divorce, to send the woman, to put her away. And it had to do with her, hardening her heart and refusing to come under like righteous law. But I think in today's world, it's pretty challenging to identify what hardening of one's heart would look like. And that's why it is, oh yes, but yeah, the no sex from wife, that goes under.
Yeah, I'm
looking for a record deal. That goes under. That goes. I believe that goes under the hardening of the heart. The no sex, because I did recall that actually, but it's more general than just withholding sex. So yeah, that's correct, Abba Cruz. But you didn't give no scripture, and you said it after I done ran down my list. So no point for you.
No, you can get a point.
You get a half a point.
Half a point. But I don't know if it's difficult to see to determine if the heart has been hardened.
Well, that's where community comes in, and that's what I was going to say before I got distracted by the chat. That's why there's a value in community, having elders, right? Having more than just yourself to, decide how you should go about making a decision, as to which way you should go. You really need to have that in order to make it work, because that's really what it's about. I know we started at marriage and we went into, some of the grounds for divorce, but it was really to kind of make it clear how tight that filter really needs to be. That funnel, I should say, really does become super, super small as to what the grounds legally are. What you doing over there? Okay.
Okay. So I kind of wanted to go. Could you before we go into the last questions, which is gonna like help to fuel like the remaining of the discussion, before we get to the asterisk.
Dun.
Can we read what's in the chat, and then I'll come back with
so somebody said, I'm looking for a record deal. No, ain't no way. What, I guess as a reggae, maybe? No, not at all. And you spelled my name wrong. How dare you? Okay. Chief says, like, I'm wife and children are not trying to live by the laws, so I turn away from them and find a righteous woman. Oh, okay. Like my wife and children are not trying to live by the laws, so I turn away from them and find a righteous woman of my nation and make new children under a new covenant. So that's the example that she provided. And then Ipako Bahamas says no sex from wife. Yes, that would be a hardening, a hardened heart. And one of the, predictive text. Usually it gives you previous when you mistype precious, but I'll give it to you.
Draw from previous.
Okay. And then Chief US says hardening of the heart also deals with a man who has lost patience for his wife. Okay. This is at a time the Pharisee, this is at a time when the Pharisees were teaching you could put away a woman just because you found a more attractive one. Wow. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Would it also be considered hardening of the heart if, well, I guess not. If the man is unrighteous, well, you just got what you got, right? I guess that it just is what it is. Like if he just
Whose heart?
The man. I was wondering if the man, if it could be considered that the man's heart is hardened if he refuses to live under, like refuses to abide. But I guess
I think that would go like we don't even hit that part. If you're refusing to live under Yah, like that is that's grounds for dissolving the alliance because you're not. Oh, we lost you. Okay, because you're not hitting you're not in alignment with the covenant itself, the covenant with Yah. So that's I don't know if there's I imagine there are levels to it, right? But that's the highest one. So you
Lord.
can't even level.
Never mind. Okay.
What?
Nothing. No question. Nothing. Thank you. In the chat. Moving on.
Yeah.
Not that one, but below. Yes. Get my name right.
He says hardening of the heart also deals with a man who has always
like
that. Sorry. Are the hosts asking
No,
questions?
Don't read it. Move on.
Yes, we're asking questions. I got a question. Oh, those kind of questions. I'm like, okay, reset. So we have questions. So I'm going to take us back to the sentence. That last part. Recklessly, if a female creates many marital contracts, you got checks that you ain't cashed, you got bad checks written, and all these breach of contracts all over the streets with many people, one or more, meaning because you're not, it's just, for fun. Recklessly, she has dishonored herself and should seek deliverance. Mm-hmm. So the question that came out of that, and this is for both the men and the women to answer. So for the women, what qualities would a dishonored woman need to cultivate? So what qualities would you need to cultivate in order to be delivered or redeemed? I put the extra piece in there because they mean different things. Like delivered is to bring you to something, and the redeemed is to oh my gosh, my brain is like I'm drawing a fog. The redeemed is different, so they're not the same. So use the Googles, look them up. What qualities would a dishonored woman need to cultivate to be delivered? Or you can just do the delivered part. Forget about the redeemed. Sorry. And then for the brothers, the question is the same, but just a slight change. What would be those qualities that you would need to see in order to bring a dishonored woman into your homestead? So that's just a lot of text. So willingly you were able to catch that. Please note in the chat if you do need me to add it.
Yeah.
Add it. I could put the men's question in the chat. But it's pretty much the same question. But it's like the women are answering what are the qualities you need to cultivate to be delivered. The men are what are the qualities that you need to see that need to be cultivated in order for you to bring that dishonored woman into your homestead. It's the same question, just slight different wording.
And while we wait, were you going to read Sister Kashia's question?
No, we were told host.
Yes,
host. Who determines that? Sister Kashia says, who determines that? The man not being righteous, is that the place of a woman to determine that, or her elders? Well, I would say this. Do know from further down in the Anu way that your mate or your husband living in sin is no reason to turn away from Yah. So you have to continue to be that model and live under that pact. So that determination will be made by the elders, by the community. That's not, I wouldn't say that's not your place, because women are the problem reporters. So there may come a time where you do have to like report that problem. But again, it is not a reason to turn it down. I'll find the exact wording in the way. So it means it's like, so that's where, like, as women, that's where that discernment comes in, right? You have to be discerning of when to be the problem reporter and when to step back and let the elders do their job, or let the community, step in. And I welcome, we welcome, how others may understand how they see that. How do you see that today?
Right.
Okay.
So Aki Antonio says,
question. I'm sorry.
no, you can skip all that. Don't worry about that part. Accountability.
Okay.
So Aki Antonio says, accountability, repentance. This includes commitment to reformation and submission to righteous culture. So that's his answer for what qualities he would need to see within a woman to consider bringing him into his homestead.
Okay. You got it.
Okay. Willingness to serve, willingness to serve, humility, accountability, and submission is what Sham the Joy describes as the qualities she would need to cultivate, or a woman would need to cultivate to be delivered or redeemed. Safta Arlene says receptivity, humility, and spiritual maturity. Sister Kashia says receptivity, doing, all caps, doing what is introduced and not instructed, and not questioning what has been given. Top tier speakers says humility, accountability, the willingness to start doing the right things, abiding by Yah's law, and receptivity to truth. Good, thanks. Yeah, that's good. Why the heck would I want a dishonored woman? Chief Yuya says, why the heck would I want a dishonored woman? That's broken technology. That's like me buying a crib prone to collapse, or a toaster known to explode. That's Chucky dolls and Christine cars. I'll pass.
I'm gonna walk away from it.
Duly noted. Sham the Joy says authenticity. And Aki Antonio says also being a sensible addition to the household.
So I have a question. So then how is she delivered?
No, don't do it. Don't do it. You didn't get the memo.
That happened. I don't know what you're talking about.
You're the one who rewound and everything. Come on. Stick with me here. Okay, so Sister Kashia says, true. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. True indeed. So, every woman needs to consider how she has dishonored herself, and the means by which to seek deliverance, right? Or be redeemed. And of course, I would imagine that it begins with adherence to law. And as I believe Brother Aki Antonio said, reformation, right? Being, and I would just say obedience. So can a dishonored woman be redeemed? Death. And greetings, Shannon, who says death. I'm not sure what that answers, but give thanks for it. So can elaborate. Yeah, if you can. Yeah, perhaps. Safta Arlene says, so can a dishonored woman be redeemed? I would imagine that
it's bringing something back, right?
Right.
So it's to bring something back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, so interesting, because you can't give back your virginity. So
I don't think so.
maybe
I
not.
don't think so. It's
Maybe
going
you can be
down.
delivered. So maybe you can be delivered because you come into something new, like you set free. Maybe setting free or release the demons. I don't know. Release the demons. Whereas it's redeeming is to recover. You can't recover, your purity. Not in the way it was when you were young and virginal. It's once it's done, it's done.
Right.
So maybe there isn't redemption for that, but maybe there is deliverance.
And Cruz Alvarez then changed up his handle. We see you. The woman would need to show submission to our culture, to Anu culture. If there is a family covering that she is now under, carefully studying how she now operates in this scenario with humility and righteousness. These are key. Her quietness and accountability to her covering and women of her community will also be studied. So through careful, study and observation, right? Using your eyes. And she says there's a fine line between a redeemer and a captain save all day.
Favor.
Captain save them. All day. Consider if the dishonored woman did it to herself or if her pattern of foolish choices are her cause. We have no time for rebels. Yeah, indeed. Because then you're stuck constantly like if someone who wants to rebel, and you're a captain save them, then you're constantly wasting energy being a hero to someone who don't even want to be saved. So yeah, and that sounds like insanity. Say it again. I'm sorry.
Kate, wasting your time. Dun, 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 dun.
Word.
What?
Word. And popping a lot of buttons, right?
Right. Losing all your buttons, gotta get your shirt fixed.
She ain't even gonna stitch it back on because she rebellious. I ain't telling you to push that shirt open.
Have a bunch of ripped up shirts in the closet. You want to stay away from the rebels. That's a t-shirt.
We're gonna have a whole t-shirt line by the end of this.
You want buttons? No rebels.
Okay.
People like, but they'll get a lot of questions, right? So I did want to share, like, this sentence also made me think. So during one of our Sabbath ciphers, when we talked about the names of Eve, and we talked about Hawa, and Hawa was Eve, her fallen name. When she is first named, she is Isha, which is woman or wife, and then the second time she's named is Hawa. And that means Em Kol Chai, which is the mother of all living. And when we discussed Hawa, we talked about how she was handled. When you are named, it means that that's part of like that imprinting, right? And so the same thing when it comes to sex or having sex recklessly. How many imprints do you have? How many hands have molded you and diddled, how much have you passed through, right? So that brings us to the asterisk. Okay, so now there's no more quotes, comments yet, so we're going to go on to the asterisk.
Yes, there are.
So, there are?
So Cruz Alvarez says the man who, Safta Arlene says Toda Chief Yuya. Cruz Alvarez says the man who is Captain Save is weak and can be swayed into unrighteousness. And Chief Yuya says she could have been dishonored, but consider the choices that may have led up to that, or the bloodline she comes from. Ultimately, she strives for deliverance via humility and obedience. And you're welcome.
Yeah. So then that makes me think, like, you can be delivered. Yeah, you
Mhm.
can be delivered.
And Sister Munira says, coming back under the righteousness of her father, obedience. Yeah, give thanks.
So now the asterisk. If prostitution is a female's profession and she is financially compensated for the intercourse that she provides to her patrons, she has a contract of separation. No Anu men or Anu women can enter into prostitution or profit from it. I'll read it again. No Anu men or Anu women can enter into prostitution or profit from it. So we'll make a so there's not a lot of deliberation around this, but I'll say we acknowledge that there are people who embody that spirit. Maybe they like to have a lot of sex or whatever. She is providing a service, or he, when it's prostitution, there's a service being provided. But when we read this sentence, when we talk about these, even though there's a financial compensation and you see that the contract is closed out, right? Because that financial transaction is what closes out the contract. What we don't see here is a focus on nation building. So if we take it back to when we talk about sex as a pact for marriage, and we go back to what the idea of the covenant is, and that really being binding yourself to Yah, there's no binding to Yah in here. There's no commitment to family. You're just having sex for money. So you're moving from man to man, and you're moving from woman to woman, and you're getting paid for it. So there's dishonor still in there. So that can bring us to that last sentence. This is why no Anu man or woman may enter into prostitution. So I'm going to leave it at that, and welcome comments for that. And in the meantime, we're going to go to the chat. Any questions?
Sure. So Shannon says 1 Timothy 5:8, and it reads, "But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel." So I believe that that's connecting to the death comment earlier. Chief Yuya says you can be delivered, but being redeemed can happen via union.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't mate someone in need of deliverance. She even needs to be aware that she is being redeemed, if that is the case. No,
Queen.
no queen egos. All right, yes, no queen egos. Good things.
Right.
Good things.
Okay, that is, yes, good things. So, can we go with moving have a union? I wouldn't meet someone in need of deliverance. Okay, so this is something to deliberate and to look back on.
Mm-hmm.
So, and maybe we can come with this next time when we come back and everybody can share what they found. So, what would you do to seek deliverance? And this is Chief Yuya's preference. He would not mate with someone in need of deliverance. So this means that, maybe for some men, you need to have found that before you seek another union.
Right. And Chief also says, Isaiah 4:1, 7 women shall seize one man in that day, and they shall say to him, we will eat our bread and we will wear our clothes. Only let us be called by your name and take away our shame. So, we'll bring our own food. We'll find our own way. We'll make sure we're clothed. Pretty much we'll make sure we're clothed and fed. Just allow us to be your namesake. Just allow us to be covered, right? That's how and that's, so that there's no shame, because there's a great shame in being uncovered.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm seeing that. So give thanks.
Right.
And I feel compelled to say that those days, right, are now. We, yeah,
That is redemption.
that day is now.
To be covered.
Well,
That
it says 7 women shall seize one man in that day, and I'm just saying that that day is now, and she says
I'm
that.
sorry. Yes. Okay. I was making sure I was connecting the dots properly.
And then she says that is redemption.
Mm-hmm.
Give thanks, Cruz Alvarez. Great discussion, family. And she says again, that happened in the time when the men of strength were nowhere to be found.
Well, we could say we're almost there now. They're very few and far between.
Yes.
They we're there now. Males and a lot of females. Women are missing too.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. So this is really phenomenal. I look forward to reading, the comments that should come in the chat. Can we repeat?
There wasn't a question for prostitution.
Yeah, I don't think you said one.
No. We didn't ask a question.
I think you just made a recommendation that we Anu deliberate, right, among ourselves on what
that
take
was
from that.
relevant deliverance, but that wasn't the prostitution one.
Okay.
But I could read it again so I can, recap what I said. If a prostitution is a female's profession and she's financially compensated for the intercourse that she provides to her patrons, she has contract of separation. No Anu men or women can enter into into prostitution or profit from it. So what I was saying was when we think about that pact, if we go back to the pact, what sex is, and it's a pact for marriage, it always leads us back to having that covenant with Yah. And having sex with multiple partners just getting paid for it, and you're just closing out constantly. Yeah, you're closing out your contracts, but within that activity, there's no focus on that nation building or even that pact to Yah. So we're nation builders here in Anu. Everything that we do is about being righteous and being under the covering of the Most High. So this is why we don't enter into prostitution or profit from it. That was like a recap. Maybe not word for word, but recap. Chief says, give thanks, top tier speaker. TPS says, we are no longer in an agricultural age wherein another adult in the house barely costs you. I don't advocate any man take on any adult woman as a financial infant if she is not virginal. And there you go.
Enough said.
There you go. Willingly that answered your request, Chief, about the prostitution piece. I did ask the question. I said, if anybody wanted to add anything. That's not really a question, but I let the floor open. I was like, that's all we're gonna say about that, and I let the floor open. But that was it. So, it's 18. Cause how we doing on likes? Y'all really like it? I'm gonna shut it off. No, I'm just joking. So,
shut it down.
We have 18 people. I'm only seeing the comments from the same folks. So if there are, comments, questions on the deliberation, please share. But if not, and we'll give it a few. If not, we will close out and give thanks to everybody for attending. Before we go, Ema Precious, do you have anything else you want to add? Something you want to say? Do you have any even small piece about the? No, okay, about the asterisk.
No, I don't. At all.
I think that's supposed to say Deuteronomy.
I was trying to translate really quickly, but covertly, I'm like, that must be Deuteronomy, right? Okay. Deuteronomy. So go ahead. Go on with it.
No, okay.
Oh, Deuteronomy 23:18. Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of the Lord thy God for any vow. For even both these are aberration unto the Lord thy God. Abomination. Aberrations, yes. Abomination unto the Lord thy. I'm like, an aberration, really? Interesting. Abomination unto the Lord thy God. So don't bring no whores.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, you neither. Can't do it neither.
Or mangy dog.
That's not how we do things. Okay? I would say be wary of those who teach that. I would say be wary of those who have been foolishly giving away their sacred best parts and now claim righteousness so that you can redeem their years of moral disregard. It's a pervasive con game. We're going to buy our own clothes. We buy our own food. Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
It's going to be interesting.
Right. Definitely. Right. It's like, yeah, absolutely. I know. I know you will.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's a good
Yeah,
one.
you will. Mm-hmm. Yes,
and it was
Deuteronomy.
Okay.
Yeah, got it right. I was like, drugs.
Yeah, I was like, okay, there's no drug. I know that for sure. I think there's only one D book.
Yeah.
Period. But I'm running through them in my head.
I was running, and I don't even remember all of them. But I'm like,
yeah, Deuteronomy.
Like,
we good.
Like a list.
We
Like,
we got it.
Yeah.
We got it.
Yeah. Okay. Y'all quiet about that one. What?
I don't got nothing to say. He talking about that asterisk. Mm-mm. I don't know. All I have are questions.
No.
So.
I thought he meant be wary of those who have been foolishly giving away their sacred best part. Yeah. Like why you want to stop now? Why you want to stop now?
Mm-hmm.
Why come?
Yeah, I think really, when I look at that line for older women, but definitely for young women, right? For virginal women, this is like a call to action, if you will, or inaction, if you will, to really honor yourself and understand what dishonoring yourself. Dishonor yourself.
Turn around for me, ladies.
Pageant. That's what I learned on my singing. You got to do that performance in the black pageant. Anyway, Black awareness pageant. I didn't even see the awareness part.
That's gone right there.
A Black awareness pageant. Okay. I'm sorry. So I was just saying, it's a call. It's really a charge to, and this is why it's important to share this information with your people, right? Because we have to talk. We have to bring awareness. Imagine how many young girls need to know these things who aren't being taught this, who will do things to compromise and jeopardize their righteousness in one fell swoop, and only realize later what they've done. I laughed at my own joke. I sure do all the time. You just noticed that. You better leave me alone.
I'm funny.
Thank you. Yeah, we're funny. Mm-hmm. So okay. So Aki Antonio says, I've seen it with males and females who want to sleep around and then try to browbeat the first decent guy, or I guess girl, that she encounters into marrying them. Give thanks. Okay, so South Darlene said, give thanks. Awesome build. Shabbat shalom. And then she's laughing. So you didn't leave. You thought, see, other people laugh too. Ruse. And Sister Kashia says, out of desperation, people will temporarily alter themselves to be protected and secure. The facade will melt away soon, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that was,
And that's found in, the stages of courtship. It should be.
that's what, yeah. Mhm. That's a question for the room. If you've been a dumbass for the past 30 years, what do you think would tangibly compel anyone to lay in a bed with you and open their whole mind and heart to you? Real question.
We'll wait. Oh, there's time put back on the clock.
Yeah, I would say, well, tangible. One would need to come with some real skills, right? That are going to contribute to the homestead that you're trying to enter into. I would also imagine that one would need not expect to have a fully open home, mind, and heart be opened, right? And that perhaps you would really need to strive towards. Turn around, ladies, for me, please.
You
God.
this is so high.
Looks down low. Make it out, make it like that, Larry.
Turn around for me, lady, please. You know there's a God. So we're not gonna do that. We're gonna take back to the question. Back to the question. If you've been,
I gave my piece of answer, and then I was derailed by laughter. So
I think you have to show that your soil isn't completely hard and that there's something there to work with, right?
Or over seeded, right?
Right.
To acid.
Because then what will be able to grow inside you if someone is coming to implant new thoughts and righteous thoughts, will they even be able to take hold? So if you can't do that, yeah, so I think, but tangible. Let's see. So that's something that's you can touch and feel, not just see. So we concrete, not abstract,
Yes.
right? Concrete that would compel them. Joy. If you are able to do, right, but in that doing, you produce something. It's what you produce, and if it's something beneficial to the household. And I want to say, like, even if it's increasing the wealth and revenue of the household, because I'm thinking tangible, right? So you're bringing in the skill set that you have. Like, first you have to show that your soil is not overseeded, it's not too acidic, and it can be worked with, right? And it's not hardened like clay, but it's malleable, and something can grow in it. And then, so then what grows? What are you able to then cultivate and produce? If you are able to produce something that is beneficial to the household, I would say increase the wealth of the family, of the homestead. That's tangible. And you may not like it, but it is what it is. You out there being a dingbat, you can stay in a dingbat, or you can bring something to the table. That's my answer. I said what I said.
Say that again, please.
I said what I said. You don't have to like
That's
it.
Right.
There's a lot of laughs. Joy. Yes, no. Okay. Don't be ashamed to call his name. Yes.
Go ahead, act it out. I'm like, this must be movie references.
I want to so bad. I'm not gonna do it.
You just did, absolutely. You did a full-on Brother Low, like a full-on. But I mean, come on, I got the song, you got the movie, so it's cool. It's cool.
Stop this speaker says, I think many females would like to focus on redemption before perhaps examining their root causes and taking accountability for all their choices and accepting that maybe you can't always make up.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon says, 1 Peter 5:5-6. If you can share it, because we have the capacity right now. I don't know what that was. Nothing's on fire, is it? Because I'm just looking at flames behind you. You gonna burn up?
Please
Don't
hold.
burn up. Not live. Oh my God, something's on fire, y'all. We'll put out an
Nothing's on fire. All's well.
Okay.
All's well that ends well.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So Sister Shannon, if you can put what that scripture actually says, that would be much appreciated. Sister Kashia said one would have to be whatever you like. Right, but that's not tangible. What are the tangible things? And I wish I had some water. I think all the brothers are waiting for the answer. Where are your answers, ladies? Sister Precious and I, we gave some answers.
Chief answered that.
Oh.
He said, y'all have no answers.
Because there's no reason to bring something used up and oversaturated with demons and sick mindset into your home. This is the seriousness of the message.
Give thanks.
Yeah. It is nothing to say. Like,
no.
Yeah. You can't. I have no justification for errant behavior.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that, Chief, this is true. You can't increase wealth, but all money ain't good money. True. Lifelong dingbats cost you more in money and energy. Also, patterns dingbats never come with wealth, just fire, sexuality, and personality.
You don't want to read dumbasses?
Well,
you're not supposed to. Oh, sorry.
I could read it.
I mean, I just said it, so it's okay.
I'm trying to be righteous here. Be a good God here.
Aki Antonio, I do not need an exorcist, but give thanks. It was a candle that was in a receptacle that it should not have been in. But thank you for the offer. I'm sure if I needed one, I could find one myself. Till then.
All right, well, I guess there's no answers, ladies? Nothing?
Yeah. Sister Kashia said she gave one up top, but I believe you read what Sister Kashia gave, which is one would really have to be whatever you like. And the feedback was that Chief asked for something more tangible.
Oh, right. Okay.
Oh, wait. Or maybe she's speaking to this. She says, I wouldn't expect anyone to join with me when they can find someone already in alignment. So that, I think that's the answer she's talking about.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Yeah. We got caught up in the turnaround ladies, whatever that was. I don't know. I'm assuming it was a movie.
I think that was supposed to be the intermission while we were waiting for the answer. Yeah. She said, I need to see at least 3 to 4 years of celibacy and powerful decisions before I would even consider making you a very low-level consort. I would not allow a person like that anywhere near my core family.
Well, there you have it. Give thanks.
All right. I don't think, other than Sister Kashia.
So, I think that when I look at these, 5 sentences sans the asterisk, there's just so much to dig into, to dissect, and begin to think about or deliberate on. And it really just makes me go back to the idea of why community is so important. Because who do you have these conversations with? Oh, how do you even have a conversation like this? But let's just imagine you are someone who is not connected to Anu currently, and you pick up the Anu way, or you download the Anu way, and you're going through this, how do you deliberate this information, right? So it's just really something to think about, not that the reason to come into Anu is to kind of pose your questions, but really to explore and examine how you can live a more righteous life and grow and contribute in a meaningful way to yourself, but to your community. Yeah.
There's some stuff in the chat. So top tier speakers is asking if we mind posing the question. So I will I'll put them in the chat, and we'll move on from there.
So we read that all money, good money. What did we miss?
So Shannon.
Greetings. A woman can be redeemed through death, metaphorically or literally. If you believe in resurrection, then you will live again and live right.
Well, I don't believe anything. I have faith.
Women can be redeemed through death.
I think here it's more about faith, so we know. So maybe maybe you will come back to another life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if you can elaborate a bit more, that would be helpful. So I think you're touching on the question about how a woman can be redeemed, right, through death. So so then my question then would be, in this life, is that possible, right? So before we even get to the sentence about the resurrection in this life, is there a means by which a woman, since that's what you're referring to, or a female, can be redeemed? Maybe if you can, let us know. Let us know what your thoughts are. And then I see Sister Kashia says, Shannon, what does this death entail? So give thanks for that. So, and Aki Antonio says, these are conversations that happen after damage is done. So the way to deliberate is to deliberate, but the concern is how many people will be held accountable to their past choices. Good. And Shannon says, death like dying to self, or dying. If you wake after dying, you are reborn, literally or figuratively. Death is dying to self or dying. Okay. So literally or figuratively. So then are you saying, I would actually need to process that a bit more, because I'm not fully clear. But it looks like you're making reference to a literal or figurative death as a means by which a woman or female can be redeemed. Yeah.
I mean, there's a few things that come to mind. This can be anything. I don't want to, attribute a certain system to something, and that's not what you're saying.
Right.
So before the next one, just top tier speakers, the questions have been reposted in the chat for you. And then Chief Yuya says, nah, a person who is a new person never knows they are. That's I changed my name, switched my vernacular, and got woke con game. We are accountable for past life choices regardless. Right, because, you kind of, in that new iteration of you, this piece of the source, right. You are paying for what was done before. There was a lesson there's still that question you need to answer, if you didn't answer it before. So there's things that you'll have to go through. So it's not as simple as like, I'm dead and now I'm reborn. You know, there has to be like when you're born, we know in mathematics you're born physically and then mentally through Yah, but it's not as simple as just saying. There's tangible steps that have to take place.
Mm-hmm.
So
and that goes to
it's not
Sister
like
Gia's question right below, right? But what has changed in that process? Whether literally or figuratively, what has changed? What lessons have been learned? Will you make the same mistakes, Shannon?
right.
Those there. And then she says, reincarnation or coming back is a sign of disobedience. Exactly. And not learning lessons.
Right.
Because
Right.
the goal
You still
is to get it right this time and
right.
not have
Did
to
not
reincarnate.
You did fulfill the purpose. You came down here to answer a question and fulfill a purpose. So if you're back, that means you didn't do what you were supposed to do. So it's not as simple as like yeah, you have a new physical body to try again, but
The goal is still to seek your purpose, live it, and not make the mistakes you've made in those other iterations of your incarnate experience. Mm-hmm.
Before I get to that, but you read Kushia, reincarnation or coming back, right? Okay, so Shannon says, to not cause any confusion, I will not continue to speak on it, but no, you will not make the same mistakes because you are not the same person. Although you are the same person, you are righteous.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And then Chief says, a baby doesn't know when they are born. We just know we're different as a result of ego/identity. We can note rededication to the Almighty, but truth makes us free, not sets us free. It's a process. And also, Chief says, you are not causing confusion, Shannon. You are not correct on that. That's all. On this. That's all.
Yeah, I'm just trying not to be like, I'm not Chief, so I won't still be like, nah, no, you know.
Mm-hmm. No, but that's good. It's good. And this is what we're here for, right? As a community, right? So it's not one person kind of giving you our personal preference or thoughts. And, it's really a collective, given an example of what community looks like live. So it's great that you have these thoughts and questions and that you can come to clarity and understanding. So Sister Kashia says, like, comment, and share. So we give thanks for the likes, the comments, and the shares. Aki Antonio says, there's no confusion. The death you speak of is a process, not an abracadabra, immediate change. And Sister Kashia says, make versus created.
Yeah. So I would ask, Sister Shannon, if you have read the Anu Way or even like the 14 Keys, because that could be a great help to you in this matter, and even your comment. So this was my the reason for my comment about faith. It's not believing, right? It's faith, because belief relieves room for doubt. So if you're doubting, then what do you have? So I would offer to you to pick up a copy. It's free. You can download the Anu Way for free. You can go to www.anulifeglobal.org. .org. www.anulifeglobal.org. You can go there.
One more time for the people in the back, please.
www.anulifeglobal.org. And you can download the copy. And also you can visit if you are interested in Anu Womb. The application is open and it's up. And there will be room to deliberate if you're interested in being a part of Anu. Part of that orientation process is the deliberation of the 14 keys. So, she read the Anu Way. Okay. So maybe come on some more Shemas. Maybe come on to some more. Okay. All right. Well,
This is
we have
wonderful,
been.
right? We're happy to be back.
Yeah.
Like 2 hours with the happy
Yeah.
almost. So yes, this
Yeah.
is good.
We
We missed this.
Hebrew. It's gonna be different now. We have some Hebrew after the break with all of the deliberations and the information on Bereshit. We gotta follow up. We gotta come with it now.
Hot
So
fire like
we'll, we'll right. Spit hot fire. Dylan. We'll still give you us, but we're gonna come with the information. So you have Hebrew this evening, some things to walk away with, some things to deliberate, and so that's what we'll be bringing on Shema going forward. It's about to be lit, y'all. Oh, wait. So we'll read these last comments and then we'll sign off because we do have the Anu Women's Call that has started without us. So it's just us and everybody else. So Sister Kashia suggested Command the Day segment, reincarnation. That's right. Give thanks, ResourceNet. And Sister Shannon says 1 Corinthians, I think that's 15 and 42. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption. It is raised in corruption. 43, it is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness. Right, but that's not necessarily saying that you're a brand new person. That it's like, let bygones be bygones. That's not necessarily what that is.
So just to kind of skip down to Chief's comment, he says, Shannon, you're wrong. You can ask for clarity and learn, or keep implying a bias based on your own personal situation. It has already been explained. This is why we need to deal with virginal mates. So I think we'll put the period there and give thanks. We will.
Full stop.
Full stop. We will that you all truly, receive something from this wonderful deliberation. I thought it was wonderful deliberation. Of course, next week, Aki Antonio will be back with another edition of Shema Anu. And to our Anu family, we will see you in tomorrow for our Sabbat cipher. So peace.
Peace. I think we froze, but peace if we didn't.